Hello, dear friends. What a blessing to be with you today. Here we are for another study of one of the chapters of the book Green Light by the Spirit under Luiz through the mediumship of Francisco Cândido Xavier. And today's chapter is number 36. We have about 14 more before we get to the end of this beautiful short. It's a small book, very dense, full of teachings for our daily lives and our reflections. So let's go ahead and talk about issues of criticism. So, when we are going about our days, how are we supposed to deal with criticism? And are we supposed to be criticizing folks, right? We have a habit of judging and criticizing just where we are right now, no judgment, no, but we have to observe where we are so that we can build a better tomorrow. So it's important to know where we are so we know where we're going to go. And if we have the habit of criticizing, which a lot of us on the earth has, then we have to know how to improve, how to get better and stop the criticism. So Andrea Luiz says, try to keep silent when you're not able to help. The life of the other people belongs to them, not us. Let's unquote for now. So those are the first two phrases of this chapter. Keep silent when we're not able to help. A lot of times we see something, we can't do anything about it, but we are uncomfortable with silence. We want to feel better. We want to do something about it, and then we criticize. When we're not able to help, he says, stay silent, keep silent. That's a very interesting teaching nowadays when we are reactive, anxious. There's a lot of commotion on the earth, and then folks immediately we run into the computer, we tweet, we make a comment. We're not helping anything, but we are unable to keep silent. He says the life of others belongs to them, not us. Of course, we're not condoning behavior that hurts others. So if we see anyone in our lives who are hurting other people, harming themselves, um, engaging in illegal activities, we need to seek help in authorities who can deal with that. But it's not up to us to judge because their lives belongs to them. Even if we already know they have the right to make those choices as much as we do. I guess I always bring it back to us, right? We ask, if I was doing something, going about my day, my life, would I like someone to come and criticize me? No. Therefore, I extend that behavior to others. I do unto others what I would like them to do to me. He will continue, quote, I should understand that somebody else's mistakes today could be my mistake tomorrow. While on the pathway of improvement on the earth, we still carry our human nature. So, what we criticize today, even when we're not able to help, could be something we do tomorrow. So, today I see flaws, most likely is because I see that flaw in me. I also see the lack of something in me, and then I look for that lack in the environment around me. But it says people are making mistakes. And I'll go one step further. Tomorrow, he says, we can be making the same mistake and we would appreciate not being judged or criticized. But How many of us can actually say that in a previous life we have not committed the same error, right? A lot of times we criticize something, it could be that we still don't forgive ourselves for the actions taken a long time ago. And we see that, and then we criticize others. There's a lot we can incorporate from this chapter in our lives. Because when we criticize, he says, quote, the time that we spend criticizing could be spent doing useful things. So the time we spend sending that message, calling our family members to complain, making a post, writing a comment, we could be doing something useful. We could be praying for that person, for ourselves, to give us the strength, for the mentors to help us, give us the strength so that we can not criticize anymore. We could buy some food for the homeless. We could fundraise for the food bank, for orphans. There's so much we can do. We can clean our homes. That's useful too. So the time spent criticizing could be spent doing something else. Every time we criticize someone about his or her work, we are morally obliged to do it better than they did. Hmm? So another thing, when we're not able to help, we keep silent. The life of others are theirs. The mistakes they're making, we could be making them, and who knows, we may have made it in the past. The time spent criticizing, we could be more useful. And then we criticize someone, he said, this isn't always words. We're morally obliged to do it better than they did. So when we say, oh, we're not doing them, we make a very simple and silly example. My sister, my mother in law, my daughter in law, my husband don't clean the house the best I do, as much as I do. We're morally obliged to do better. If we're not helping, be silent. And he says, take note, quote, take note. At any time or given situation, the points of view, opportunities, resources, interests, feelings, and education of others are often very different from yours. We don't know, unquote now, we don't know their evolutionary history, what happened in previous lives that led people to be here. And we don't know the decades that people spend in different circumstances to be where they are. Let's say someone is engaged in crime, they're using, selling drugs, they're a member of a gang, for example. We don't know what led those people to that kind of activity and suffering, the suffering they have engaged. But we can help. If we can't help, we don't criticize and we pray for them. And if that's something, I'm using the example of a gang member, for example, someone who is engaged in activities that are detrimental to self, to others, and to the community, right? I'm not even talking about the people who are consuming, which are feeding the system. So if you have that problem in your neighborhood and you feel like you can't do much, there are agencies that work with that. And there is a priest that started the largest gang rehabilitation program in the world today, Father Greg Boyle. So Google, after we are done, Homeboy Industries, Homegirl Industries, and you can understand what I'm talking about, how it is action in a situation that for most of us is very overwhelming. But we don't know. He talks about on this in his organization, the suffering that the kids go through, and they seek the gang life as a way to belong because their families didn't give them that. And that's why it's important for us to know of these teachings, because then we can learn, apply, and because more is caught than taught, the kids that are under our tutelage can learn this. When they don't see us criticizing, when they see us keep silent when we can't help, when we understand that the mistake someone's making, something that we may do tomorrow or have done in the past, they will also learn. And that is betterment of humanity, because the next generation that we are entrusted to lead to God, as the gospel according to Spiritism tell us, the mission of motherhood and fatherhood, then that generation can be better than we are. That's the law of progress, right? So that when we reincarnate, we come back to a better world. A world free of criticism. Now, let's imagine this. The spheres, the host, spirits, just as Christ, don't have criticism. Our dream is to go to non solar. Majority of spiritists who read non solar, we keep saying, oh, when I die, if I could only go to non solar. Non solar criticism is not something that they do. Because the vibratory attunement of someone who is criticizing is not with the superior spirits. Because even our mentors, who are our 24/7 personal trainers of our souls, don't criticize us. They understand the mistakes we're making today. Maybe they did. They understand that our life belongs to us. We have free will. But they help. And so should we. He says, criticizing does not help because the work of a creature is what determines its value. It's about our actions. Behavior is a language. Behavior shows you our actions and what we do, how we go about in the world. Shows us what we value. When we say we value the teachings of Spiritism, but we criticize, that's misaligned. When I say I value Spiritism, but I don't make time to go to the center for an hour every Sunday or Saturday, then my values are misaligned. So my work as a person shows my value. And I'm not talking about work as our profession. Because work, remember the law of work in the Spirit's book, is any useful activity. The things that we do that are useful to others, they're useful to society. Because the selfishness that we still have will be lessened with time. So we can move on in our progress and the progress of the world. He says, she or he who helps, she or he who loves, helps, and forgives always. Do not condemn, bless. And remember, often a hammer is enough to destroy what took centuries to build. Unquote. So when we criticize, which we're not going to do it today the challenge is go the whole day without criticizing yourself and others around you. It's a very tall order because it's ingrained in us. We always want to have an opinion. We want to say we can do better. Our egos are fragile, so we want to say we are better than others. We do it better, we do it differently. So today is, if we can't help, we stay silent. Someone's making a mistake, you think, what if I did that mistake? Would I want the criticism? No. The things we do, our works, our actions, our thoughts, our behavior in the world shows what we value. So I hope that you value the teachings we are receiving together. Remember, the hosts are like you. We are learning like you. Even though the ones who think we know best, we're still learning. So the words of André Luiz today, may they inspire us a very peaceful time, a time where we go around spreading the good news of the cross with our actions, with our thoughts of goodwill to others. And today, between now and next week, we'll refrain from judging and criticizing ourselves and others. Dear friends, do everything that we need to spread this good news by sharing, liking, subscribing. And between now and next time, God willing, I'll be back with you next week with another chapter. Until then, stay well, stay safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.